Hello and welcome back to my channel. So in, I believe it was December, I put out a call for Q&A because I hit 100 subscribers, and then a bit of a change of schedule, and I've just neglected to actually make the answers for it. And so this is now going to be the long lost answers for the Q&A. Just a few questions, and I guess first I'd like to start just to thank everybody for the nice comments and love of my wife's artwork that I showed in that video. It was very touching, very nice to hear that lots of people enjoy and loved her artwork as much as I do. So I'm gonna get on with the questions now. Not too many. First off, Lost in Discovery asks, where would you want to travel once you're able to again, besides your home country? And I'm not sure. I definitely like to do. I mean, my wife discussed this a lot. Actually, we like to travel around Canada a lot. Like, she hasn't really seen that much of Canada. We went out to Vancouver for part of our honeymoon. And then other than that, I don't think really outside of Ontario we've been to Montreal. We've been like to Western Quebec, but we haven't really been to Eastern Quebec. And yeah, she hasn't really seen much outside of Ontario, and neither have I really. So yeah, lots of Canada. Other than that, I'm not. I did do some traveling before I settled down here and stuff, but I'm not huge into traveling. I do have friends around the world though, and I have family in Australia, and New Zealand. I'd love to I'd love to visit Australia and New Zealand someday. It's a big undertaking for the travel. It takes a long time. It needs a lot of time in your schedule, and with my family being dotted around a bit as well, I like to try and see all of them. But yeah, I think so. I think yeah, Australia and New Zealand will probably be the biggest ones I'd really ultimately like to visit. Next question. Heidi's Bookish Adventures. She asks, which crime or mystery books would you recommend to people who don't really read much crime or read crime only occasionally? And I think this is a really hard question to answer. For any genre, really, like it's to really fully understand the genre, you really have to read quite heavily in that genre. It's very hard to recommend one or two books because you're just getting like the smallest insight into that as a genre. There are definitely genre books that transcend their genres, and then there's often the usually much maligned literary author who slums into genre fiction, but often it's a light kind of dip in, and a lot of genre people really dislike the literary slumming into their genres. If you are interested in reading any genre, really getting a feel of a genre, my advice is always to read the big names. So for crime, if you want to get into crime, read Arthur Conan Doyle, Sherlock Holmes, read Agatha Christie, read Raymond Chandler and Dashiell Hammett, Jim Thompson, people like Sue Grafton in the 80s, and probably like Sarah Paretsky, and then modern day, read the big books like Gillian Flynn, Gone Girl. They read the books that really take it. I mean, even read Dan Brown's Da Vinci Code is more of a thriller than mystery, but it's kind of a mystery thriller, I guess. But or crime necessarily. It's a mystery thriller, but read the books that are big bestsellers, and more people have read it, I should say, and then you can kind of delve deeper into the more seedier, lesser known depths of the crime genre. But if you get like an understanding of the popularity stuff first, I think then it gives you a good basis to which then to judge everything else and to kind of find your niche. Yeah, because also if you read the most popular stuff from each era in different styles, then you kind of figure out what kind of a crime reader you are too. And that kind of advice really goes into all genres really. Also, just read what you're interested in maybe as well if you're not fully into something, into a particular genre. There'll be books that will have other niche interests, whether that's your cozy mysteries that have lots of animals and bookstores and restaurants and cafes, kind of things like that, kind of more that kind of culture into the books, as well as the criminal element, or if you're into kind of like psychological studies, if you're into like impacts of major events into society, and especially something like World War II, then a lot of the American crime novels from the 1950s kind of really delve deep into that the psychology of people with a lot of post-traumatic stress from World War II, essentially, and the shifting morals of American society. But yeah, you kind of just have to read a few widely, and you'll figure out what you like. Courtney Ferda asks, best and worst booktube recommendations you've read. I haven't bought a ton of books from booktube recommendations. Sadly, I haven't read a lot of them though. I need to get in. I need to just trying to read as much books as I can. Part of the reason I haven't been making so many videos actually is because I've been reading a little bit more. Bit of a change of schedule as well, but I've instead of making a video, I've tried to read. But weirdly, one of the most interesting books that I've read that I wouldn't have read if not for BookTube was actually a book Sean the Book Maniac bailed on. He was really excited about it to start, and I was like, oh, that sounds really interesting. I started my local library, and by the time I started reading it, he already bailed on it. But I really liked it, and I actually totally forgot to look up the name of the book, but it was called something like Walking on the Ceiling, by a Turkish writer who I think had also lived in France and England. Like, I think she lived in Paris and London during parts, and it's kind of does the actual book does go in between her living in London, Paris, and then back in Turkey looking after her elderly mother, and it's very interesting book about being someone that kind of has 3 lives in 3 different countries, and relationships, and the feeling of guilt of leaving parents behind in home country, but also at the same time when she is back looking after her mother in Turkey, kind of of longing for the days that she was living in Paris. It's very interesting. I should actually just quickly look it up. Yeah, Walking on the Ceiling by Asagul Savas. Yeah, Sean the Book Maniac bailed on it, but I really enjoyed it. So that's the first one that actually springs to mind when I think of booktube recommendations, even though it wasn't super recommendations. I have subsequently bought a book that Sean the Book Maniac has raved about, though, so hopefully I will enjoy that one too. Other than that, like, the people I get my most recommendations from, but I just haven't actually got around to reading the books yet. Steve Donahue is always very good. Briana at is it just Briana's Reads? I totally forgot what they call their channel name, but they're also on Instagram at radreads94. They are a radical leftist reader. I don't know if they identify as communist or anything, and probably saying leftist is probably a little bit insulting, but definitely just a radical reader. I guess they are in the black radical tradition, but always reading super fascinating books. And every time I watch any of their videos, I just actually buy a ton of books. I just bought a ton of books from Verso just yesterday, I believe, because I binged watched a few of their videos there. But yeah, it's definitely great recommendations there. Connie Ferter herself has very really good, interesting reads, and I might have bought a couple of books that, based on her reading, but I have not read them yet. And also Peg at the History Shelf. Can't watch any of her videos anymore because I just buy tons of history books after watching her channel. Although I do have a very interesting book on South Sudan that I only found out because I watched her video. And I still need to read that one. I think I'll read that one very soon, actually. Or on to the questions, I guess. Jack at Rambling Raconteur, he's got a couple of questions here. His first question is, what is the most interesting place you have been to? I've been to a bunch of interesting places, including lots of small towns in Ontario and lots of weird little towns in England and Scotland and Wales. But I don't know if it's any point mentioning any of those, because no one would have heard of them and no one's ever going to go and visit them. Of the bigger places I've been to, one of the most interesting places I've been to is Barcelona. Barcelona is very interesting to me because it is not afraid, and it very much celebrates its anarchist radical traditions, especially of the revolutionary fighters in the Spanish Civil War. Has a ton of statues, commemorations, I guess. Has a ton of commemorations. A lot of them are very interesting pieces of modern art, and you don't get a lot of good modern art in public places, I find, in the world. But yeah, a lot of commemorations to Spanish freedom fighters. All around. A lot of the place names are named after anarchists. And yeah, there's just a really good tradition of standing up for their anarchist tradition, anarchist and communist tradition, even though those are also at odds with each other during the Spanish Civil War. But yeah, it's actually living there for just over a year really has got me wanting to read a lot more about the Spanish Civil War. Shockingly, I don't really know much about it. I've read much about it, but there's definitely a few books I want to read that have come out recently. Um, Also, other interesting places I've been to would include Ljubljana in Slovenia. That's just a very neat kind of place. It's kind of wonderfully bridges, kind of your classical Western Europe with your kind of Eastern former Soviet. It's like right in the middle. Or right on the edges. It's like Italy, bordered Italy, and all those, and Austria, and I think the other border is Croatia. But yeah, Ljubljana's right on the western side too, so it's like really nice, really close to Italy, and right at the foothills of the Julian Alps. Yeah, we took the train from. I think we took the train from Munich, but it went through. I think it went through Vienna or Graz or something in Austria, and then down through the Julian Alps into Ljubljana. It's quite the train ride. It's absolutely beautiful. And then coming out of Slovenia, we got to went to Italy, went to Milan, Italy, and that was also brilliant. Oh, I guess we went. Yeah, so we went from Ljubljana to Trieste, which is basically Venice. It's the working class part of Venice. That was it. That was a beautiful car ride. And then we took the train to Milan from there. And yeah, that was quite cool. But other than that, interesting. It's hard to think off the cuff here. I did think of having a little bit of a thing beforehand, but yeah, I find lots of places interesting. Just anywhere I visit, really, I find somewhere of interest. There's usually I'm a big plaque reader. So many plaques around. And maybe I'll go into more depth about more of the local history around here. But even my house is quite interesting because at the bottom of my my land, I have the old mill that used to make the cheese boxes for the big cheese companies around here, and I think they made the cheese box for the famous big cheese made by the Wilton Cheese Company. I think it was Wilton. Maybe there's a commemoration just up around the Smith Falls area, just north of here. It's the big cheese that they sent to, I think it was the Chicago World Expo, 1886 or something. I'll maybe look that up and put it down below. But yeah, basically this is massive. I think it was a world-breaking size cheese at the time that they sent to the World Expo in Chicago, I believe it was. And yeah, basically the mill just at the foot of my property made the cheese box from there. And yeah, the house I live in was I think it was in the family, and then it's also the other big name in the area, Tackerberry, which is a kind of concrete paving kind of mining, like a kind of big name. They also, I think they married one of the cheese box people, and yes, it's referred to sometimes as the Tackerberry House. So yeah, that's a lot of rich history around here, and we have, I think, we have the only. I can't remember what it was, but we have a mill down in Delta, and it's one of the few in Ontario, possibly Canada. But yeah, there's tons of amazing history around here. Kingston, just down the road, is considered to be the first capital city of Canada. That's very interesting, even though it wasn't. It was the capital of the province of Canada, which was which was basically Ontario, Quebec, about 20 years prior to Confederation. But anyway, by the by, Kingstonians will say they have the city that was the first capital city of Canada. But yeah, I've been to so many interesting places. Too many to mention. The second question from Jack is: you read enormous amounts of crime fiction, which is awesome. Thank you. Is there a country, region, or era that you're interested in exploring more crime fiction from? This is always a tricky one because I find I do read a lot of crime fiction, mainly from the 1930s to the early 1960s. I'm particularly interested in post-war American crime fiction, predominantly because it kind of deals with a lot of the psychological impacts of the war, even if it's only subconsciously. It really deals with the kind of American conservatism of the 1950s and breaking from that, the kind of rebellion against conservatism in America, and also the burgeoning kind of moral issues of America that eventually leads to the Civil Rights Act of 1964. So yeah, very interested in kind of lots of things like that. It's also really interesting. It really dispels the notion that the 1950s was a nice place to live. It was nice, and everyone was like, I don't know. It's this whole weird revisionist history that a lot of I find a lot of American conservatives have of the 1950s. I mean, not all of them, but there is definitely a revisionist that everything was so good in the 1950s, and yeah, I mean there were some good stuff, but a lot of it was dark and horrible. And most periods in human history are pretty horrible if you look in the right places. But in terms of ones I would like to discover, I mean, I've been reading a lot more British golden age crime novels of like the 20s and 30s, which I previously kind of been put off just I have a very weird relationship with Britain and kind of British upper class, middle class kind of writing. But also I've been reading kind of pre Golden Age British stuff too, which is really interesting to see the kind of formulation of different tropes and kind of people feeling it out and stuff, and other things going on, and even just stuff that's like pre-dawn of the car age. So it's definitely puts it a bit more of something a bit more thrilling when chases are happening on horseback, horse and carriage. You have to horse and carriage to go from London to the West Country. You have to get the horse and carriage, and it takes like a couple of days. Definitely puts a different spin on things, I think. I'd like to read more Icelandic crime. I've read a few Another Anderson's books, and I really like them. Really find them very interesting. Iceland is a very interesting place I have never been to, but would like to. So I think I'd like to definitely read more of his, but also to find out a few more Icelandic crime novels that have been translated. And I like to read more Canadian crime, and I know there's some books that are set up north in I think Northern Ontario that sound very interesting that I like to get into. I can't remember the author's name right now, but it's like Gel something. I'd like to read those. I should probably try to read more contemporary, more modern, new crime novels. Not always have the best success with that, but I mean, I'll really read. I'll read anything. But other than that, I do like my 1950s original paperback crime novels and thrillers and spy fiction. So I'm probably not going to get too far away from that. But yeah, any kind of crime fiction really, just I do find it deals with societal issues usually better than a lot of literary fiction. I don't know. There's just something about crime fiction that I just really, I don't know if it's the mystery element, the darkness, or just the way a lot of it is just quite bold and unforgiving, the way it deals with its issues. Yeah, some things to look out for. And what other questions do I have? I think the only other question I have is from Nord. Everyone who reads it must converse. I don't think it's really a question, but more of a request. And it was, would you give us a bookshelf tour? I was all set up for a bookshelf tour. And then my wife got a job working from home, so we had to reorganize the room where the books were. And so now all of the books are completely disarray, and it probably needs to be rearranged again and again. So I've kind of been put off doing the bookshelf tour because I didn't want to just start doing it and then suddenly have to rearrange everything and try to figure out how to do it. But I might possibly rip off Steve Donohue's idea and just do a book, like a book a day or a book whenever I can, and make a video, which would be really good because it's very short videos. Very short videos are good for me because of my satellite internet. It's not the greatest. And also, I'm gonna kind of talk about the books anyway, so it'd be nice just to quick talk about one book done. And I may even possibly combine it with a record shelf tour too, if people are interested in that. And yeah, they definitely got some. I bought some records recently actually. I think I will do a video after a vinyl haul as well as a book haul, because I got a few books. I got a few books recently as well, but I'm also waiting on a few more, so I don't know whether to wait on doing the book haul when I get all of the books. But yeah, I think I will include the recent vinyl purchases as well, because it gives a really good insight into the type of person I am, if that's why you watch this channel, to see what kind of person I am, because it's kind of why I watch all of your channels and watch all of the BookTube channels. It's to really get insight into people and how people live their lives and the interests that they have. And it's books is just the first way in it, and kind of like try to peer around the corner to see what else you're all into. But yeah, I think that was all of the questions, and thank you so much for all of the kind words and the congratulations of 100 subscribers. And it does really mean a lot to me that even if you don't subscribe, if you just watch it or comment or anything, any kind of interaction that you have with this channel is very much appreciated. I only do this to make friends, to be kind of part of this unique little, very small slice of BookTube in itself. That is just people who are just very interested in books and want to talk about them with people who they will consider to be their friends. And it's just fun, and that's really the only reason I make this. So you all mean a lot to me. Thank you so much for being here and definitely making the past year a lot easier, a lot nicer, a lot more fun. And yeah, I hope for many more videos and many more talks and comments and interactions, and hopefully I'll be able to start making videos a little bit more regularly and comment and actually have some coherent thoughts to bring to everybody. And yeah, so I hope you all have a great day, great week, great whatever you're having, and I'll see you all soon.